Welcome everyone to another installment of Taking the Bar. We are here today at the Greenhouse in the west end of Allentown. This is the show where lawyers and lawmakers talk law and politics. They talk a little bit about themselves and while we're having a drink. My name is Matthew Mobilio. I'll be your host today. I'm an attorney with Mobilio Wood in Allentown, Pennsylvania. My guest today is Marissa Ziegler. Marissa is a member of the Parkland School Board. She's a school board director. She's been in that role since 2019. She is the chairperson of the Academics, Arts, and Athletics Committee in Parkland. She is also currently the school board representative for Parkland's Community Advisory Council. She also serves on the LCTI Joint Operating Committee, where she is the chairperson of the Policy Committee. She's a Temple grad, a Kutztown grad. She's been teaching elementary public school for 15 years, and she's a proud union representative in Northampton County. She currently lives in Briningsville with her wife and two children, twins to be exact. Somehow she keeps all of that together. Welcome, Marissa. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. And thank you so much to Salvatrice from the Greenhouse. Salvatrice is the owner of the Greenhouse. She's our bartender. She is the hottest restaurateur and pizza maker in all of Lehigh Valley. Thank you so much. And she's made us some delicious looking cocktails. Well, not cocktails, but beer and wine, but they are local, so please tell us what they are all about.
So the wine is made in-house. It's our Pinot Grigio. And then we have a Trogs Nectar, Nugget Nectar.
Nugget Nectar, yes, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Enjoy, cheers.
Thank you.
Good?
It's perfect.
Good. That gets you warmed up now.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Now, while you were campaigning, I mean, I ran for office once as well, and I know that you hit the campaign trail and you never know what's on the other side of that door.
Yes.
You know, we did an interview with Mark Pinsley a little while ago, and he said a guy answered the door with a shotgun over his shoulder, and I can't imagine what that would be like. But
Right.
Any crazy stories while you're on the campaign trail?
Yes. So I have two. One was from when I was campaigning, and I literally knocked every door of every super voter that I could.
And just so super voters, for those who don't know, are the people who vote in every municipal, every election that you could.
Yep.
If there's a dog catcher on the ballot, they're going to vote, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So regardless of party, I knocked on their doors. So again, you never know what you're going to get when you knock. And my goal was always to focus on the issues, right? Because as soon as you put people in these boxes of Democrat and Republican and conservative and progressive, then it sort of shuts people down. Whereas if you start with the issues and you can sort of find some common ground there, then you can have more meaningful, productive conversations. So this one gentleman whose door I knocked on, he immediately told me that like all the evils in public education come from there not being a wall on the southern border of the United States. And so I was really caught off guard and I wasn't really sure what to say, but we sort of had this it was a 20-minute conversation, which as you know, in canvassing world, that's a really long conversation. So we had this 20-minute conversation where we went issue by issue, and we sort of talked about the things that were under the realm of school board director, and then many of the issues that he saw did not necessarily fall into the scope of what a school board director would do. And at the end of it, he thanked me for talking with him, and he said I had his vote. So I was very excited about that.
Wow. You got a convert, which is
Exactly.
very rare in the political sphere these days. You know, it seems as though, as much fun as that can be sometimes, it seems as though local politics, in particular school boards, have become increasingly more political. They seem to be the battlegrounds for a lot of social issues. Do you have any ideas to can you contribute to anything? Do you have any idea yourself what that might be because of?
So, well, I just want to start before we go into the other questions that I'm speaking for myself. There's no way I could speak to represent the district or the entire school board as a whole.
And I should say that anything that's said here is not on behalf of the school district, of the township, not on behalf of the restaurant or the owner. This is just our own personal, it's a conversation.
Yes. So I think that the majority of the reason why school board discussions have become so political has to do with the health and safety plans, masking, and CRT. And
CRT is what?
CRT is critical race theory. Okay. And so there have been some big names in state and national politics that have decided to turn these things into political issues. But nothing inherently political, there's nothing inherently political about a health and safety plan, right? Like the state said, all districts must lay out their own health and safety plan. So as the school board, the administration wrote up the plan, they worked with the committee, they brought the plan to us, and we could vote on it. So there's nothing political about that. And in fact, the majority of the school board votes on the health and safety plan and masking were 9-0 votes or 8-1 votes. And the reason for that is because the school board is a nonpartisan position. And so our goal the whole time was to keep students safe, to keep the staff safe, and then this year was to keep school open 5 days a week. And so we sort of made our decisions based around that. So really, we don't vote along party lines. We
because there are Republicans and Democrats on the board,
fact,
and there have always been.
we
for as
have
long
a
as-
majority Republican board, which
Right.
a lot of people are surprised by, in that our votes are mostly 9-0 votes, right? And it's because we are all there to make decisions for the betterment of the district, to keep people safe, things like that. So yeah, I think that a lot of the driving force behind making this issue political comes from the state and national level, and then sort of trickles down from there.
Got it. Okay. A new addition to the Parkland School Board, who shall not be named in this interview. He's been an outspoken opponent of, among a lot of things, masking, mandatory vaccinations, including opponent of critical race theory. I just want to read you a post from his Facebook page. This is September 23rd, 2021, prior to his election to the school board. He said, critical race theory continues to be implemented into Parkland School District inside of Parkland's Equity and Inclusion Action Plan. The district continues to deny this is taking place, saying the Equity and Inclusion Plan does not include critical race theory. Over the coming days and weeks, I will expose their lies. My first question is, what is critical race theory, for those who don't know? And secondly, is it being taught in Parkland schools?
Okay. So critical race theory is an obscure theoretical framework, which is basically taught in graduate level law classes. It goes nowhere near K-12 schools. From my understanding, it was developed in the 70s and 80s, and really we haven't heard much about it until recently. And also, from my understanding, the creators of critical race theory were sort of looking to see why the advancements made during the civil rights era, like Brown v. Board of Education and voting rights laws and fair housing laws, why those things did not end up sort of turning the tide and making it sort of fair, fixing the racism problem. Like, why did that not happen? And I guess the answer that they sort of the conclusion that they came to is that it's deeper than any one rule or decision or anything like that. And so I think they were looking at it more from like a structural, pervasive, systemic kind of issue.
Something that couldn't be fixed by just changing a law.
Right. Now, we can debate CRT as adults and figure out if it's necessary or if it's even accurate or anything like that. But the debate about whether or not it's being taught in schools is irrelevant because there are 500 districts in Pennsylvania and none of them are teaching CRT, including Parkland. One of the things that I've sort of seen happen at school board meetings is that they've sort of morphed this definition of what CRT actually was, or is, because it still is what I said. But what they've done is they've sort of morphed that, and they have tried to label any equity and inclusion plan or any honest discussion about race and ethnicity in American history as CRT. And the biggest problem that I see with that is that in trying to stop honest discussions about race in America, you can't think critically about the issues of the present without understanding the past and where we've come from. And I feel like by shutting those conversations down, you are hindering people's ability to think critically about current issues that are relevant to everybody, really.
So it sounds like as soon as the topic of race is introduced to curriculum at all of a sudden red flags go up to certain people who think, oh my God, this is CRT, this is critical race theory, as if we should just ignore the fact that there's been racism in this country or that there continues to be racism in this country. We're supposed to ignore that, not address it because that somehow is indoctrinating the youth. Is that what you're is that your feeling?
Yes. So that's sort of where this all came from. I did write down some of the highlights of the Parkland plan. If I can share them.
I'd love to hear it because again, I think there's still there's a misconception out there, and from people who show up to these school board meetings that no matter what you say or anyone says, they're going to be convinced that there's somehow some nefarious undermining of our educational system by, Black Lives Matter or some, boogeyman that they prop up. So it's important, I think, that people know specifically what is being taught as opposed to just what's not being taught.
Right, right. Well, and a part of the plan, so the plan actually focuses on 3 things. It's culture, curriculum, and then community. And under each one, there are specific goals. But some of the highlights, and these are the things that they've sort of developed individual goals underneath these headings. Trauma-sensitive schools, connecting with new students, like new students to the district, restorative practices, student voice, employment practices, including contemporary issues and multiple perspectives in social studies and English curriculum, and professional development and community engagement. So none of that has anything to do with CRT.
I missed the part where it talks about how evil white people are. There's gotta be.
It's not in
are you
there.
sure it's not
in there?
No. Okay.
No.
Okay. I'm sorry. I assumed that was the number one topic of this.
Well, you
Okay,
would think
okay.
based on comments. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're not evil. We're
not.
okay.
Yes.
All right. Cool.
Yep.
All right. Good. Marissa, you've been kicking ass as a teacher for 15 years. You're kicking ass as a school board director for the last 3 years. But things have kind of gotten off the rails as far as politics go and local school boards. You ever go home at night and think, this is just, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah. Well, from time to time, I'm only human. Things get to me. But I always go, and I'm a big quote person. I always go back to this quote, and it's, I have an unshakable and irrevocable sense of who I am. And so I know what I ran on, I know what my values are, I know who I am. And so, and I know that not everybody's gonna like you, right? Like, you're not going to have, everybody be a big fan of you. And so as long as at the end of the day, you can say, like, I stayed true to myself, then and it worked out, you won. So.
Marissa, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Greenhouse. Thank you to videographer Josh, who did not get a shout out last time. I apologize so much, but Josh is the man, the jack of all trades. We are just incredibly thankful for for Salvatrice at the Greenhouse. Is there anything else that we can do? Anything we could sell for you? Anything, charity, website, whatever you got, tell us.
So there's the Parkland Education Foundation that really funds a lot of good stuff for students and stuff for teachers. And so if you go to parklandsd.org and you click or you look under departments, it will say Parkland Ed Foundation, and off to the right there's a link to donate.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone, stay safe, don't drink and drive, and always tip your bartender. Thank you and good night.